Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. Yeah, you know what it is. Hard worker, scrappy, unfiltered, and sometimes unhinged football content. Hard to explain, but you know it when you see it. Doing it daily our way. I don't know what you're talking about right now. Redraft and Dynasty Fantasy Football, we got you covered. You know their defense is ranked like 31st in the NFL? NFL draft prospects and rookies? Now you know you in the right place for that.
Absolutely.
All right, then stop saying it. Then we're done. And prop bets with my man JRich.
Count that money, man.
Now wipe the crust out of your eyes, get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake your ass up with Ray G. You honestly are making absolutely no sense and you sound silly as hell. Let's get it, GMGP. It is Monday, August 19th, 2024. Y'all decided to wake y'all asses up with Ray G. Week 2 preseason in the books. We got a lot to talk about. I've got no music this morning. JRich, got to get you in the stream to get my music popping. I'm about to add you right now. Let's go, Jay. Give me some music, baby. Run it back.
You know
Run
it.
it back,
You know
Jay.
it. We got
Run
it.
it back. GMGP, what's going down, everybody? It's Monday, August 19th, 2024. Y'all decided to wake y'all asses up with Ray G. We got a lot to talk about. JRich, I'm getting you off the screen real quick. I got to give a shout out to the good people in the chat. What's happening with you? Patrick Price. Minshew season is upon us. That's what Patrick is talking about. Gardner Minshew, named the starter for the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm sure we'll talk about that. Jordan Baker, what's happening with you? GMGP, the realest-ish in the fantasy space. Why are my comments like so big? Jay, I'm not going to curse all day. I am not going to curse all day. I'm trying to be better.
There we go.
This morning, I'm excited. I'm happy. Marlon in the building. I see Mason, Zach, Richie, Emilio, Adam, Mark, Caleb, Adam C, Graphic 13, you know what it is, baby. GMGP. We gonna have a damn day. All 32 teams, Jay. 32. All of them. Half of them didn't play, but we gonna get to it. We gonna get it popping. Appreciate y'all being here. Got a lot to cover, a lot to talk about. Jay, we started a little late this morning, CP time. That's not like us, man. That's not like us. I don't like that. How you doing this morning, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It always makes me laugh that everyone wants a Sean McVay coaching tree, a Kyle Shanahan coaching tree, Matt LaFleur even coaching tree, and what do you know? None of these guys playing their players in the preseason, so we have no clue what they're going to do on offense unless you're tapped in for practice reports or, Ray, you tap into this show. So I am excited because there was a lot of good things that we saw over the weekend. There was a lot of teams that didn't play, but I still think we got some actionable information and a lot of good things to talk about from over the weekend in week 2 of the preseason for the NFL.
Yeah, shout out to our partners, Underdog Fantasy. Use the promo code ALLGAS. First-time depositors, you get up to $250 and a special pick. And I'm just letting y'all know as we enter the college football season, man, I was watching the game last night, Jay, and then I heard big noon kickoff Saturday, and I'm like,
Ooh.
I was like, oh, shit, wait a minute. I got cursed already. Damn, couldn't even make it 5 minutes into the show. But Penn State, West Virginia, I'm just getting excited because college is back.
Really?
But going into college, going into NFL, we will be doing a lot of prop betting, talking about some of that stuff, especially because there is some correlation to fantasy football, right? You know, we're trying to figure out who's going to score the points. Vegas isn't in the business of losing money, so we'll be talking about that. So make sure you go to Underdog if you're new. Use that promo code ALLGAS, get you a special pick that should hit, and you get maybe $250 if you want to do that as well. Scott Connor, Destination Dynasty, dropped today. Very special episode. He invited me on. It was the first time that Scott, Shane, and I were on a show together. So we talked through that new sleeper rule change, Jay, where they can implement a starter if you miss a guy. So we kind of talked about that because people are not happy about that new change being implemented on Sleeper. Any other content creation things that we need to talk about this morning, Jay, before we get into the show?
I don't think so, no, unless you want to talk about Scott's big show he's doing on Wednesday, because that one was a doozy of an idea.
What is he doing on Wednesday, Jay? He said he's on the clock on 100 and something plus drafts right now, but this Wednesday, live on the channel, make sure you tap in because Scott Connor is going to be doing this show right here. On the clock in 50 plus drafts, Underdog Fantasy. He is going to be live talking about the strategy, the discussion. He'll be on the clock in 50 plus drafts, Best Ball Mania, Marathon, all that stuff. So Wednesday, live on the channel, Scott Connor. I don't know how long the damn show is going to be, but he is on the clock in 50 plus Underdog drafts, and he'll be drafting live, talking through the strategy, what you should be doing, should not be doing. So that's going to be a dope show. I was like, oh, that's a really cool idea, man. So I'm excited for that. Wednesday on the channel. What time does he go live? Like 7:30 Eastern, 7 o'clock Eastern?
8 o'clock Eastern time.
Yeah, something like that. I know my time. I meant Central Time. I meant Central Time, Jay. But we're wrapping up week 2 preseason in the books, Jay. Everybody played. We had 2 games on last night, Packers and the Broncos. And then we also had the San Francisco 49ers and the New Orleans Saints. And we'll get to Denver shortly in the show. But we're going through all 32 teams, talking about what happened over the week, not just the preseason game, but the things that we were hearing about in the practices, to give us some information as we approach that time, man. Your work leagues, your home league, fantasy drafts are coming up. I've had a couple already take place. So this is important information for the teams that are actually putting it out there for us. So let's kick this thing off. Where we starting, Jay?
So, Ray, we will be starting with the Arizona Cardinals, right? A player that you weren't speaking so highly of last week, and in my opinion, looked much better this time around, and that, of course, is Trey Benson, the only notable player who played for the Arizona Cardinals. But, Ray, what did you see from Trey Benson in his second start? I thought he looked more decisive. I thought he was cutting better. I thought he had a better command of the offense. You know, it's still the backups out there, but I thought Benson was much improved from game 1 to game 2, and that's a player that a lot of people are hoping for during the season at some point, if James Conner were to get hurt, or just make an impact on his own.
Yeah, well, let's take a look. I mean, Trey Benson did play much better. 9 carries, 43 yards. He had a long rush of 19. If you're not watching on YouTube, got some clips of Trey Benson looking like a bowling ball running through the Colts defense. Jay averaged 2.2 yards per rush before contact, and then 2.56 yards per rush attempt after contact. Led the team in rushing, 9 carries, 43 yards, damn near 5 a pop. I mean, this last one, right? That one right there. I mean, I'm running that back, getting through the hole, making that cut right there, and then carrying damn defenders down to the 1 yard line. He looked much better. I do not think that he is any threat to James Conner at this point in time, but hell yeah, he put on a much better performance, and he's a running back. I mean, he's going to play. There's a good chance DeMarcado is going to play at some point. Michael Carter is going to play. He's a running back. So it's one of the positions that should be an easier transition from college to the NFL. James Conner, from everything that I've heard, has just been an absolute battering ram for the Cardinals in practice during the training camp. So it's still going to be the James Conner show, but I am excited to see Benson get on the field at some point this season. You talked about the rest of the team. Nobody else did anything, Jay, from the Cardinals. There was nothing to take away. I mean, we got no Greg Dortch, no Marvin Harrison Jr., no Kyler, no McBride, of course. So it was really the Trey Benson show from the Arizona Cardinals, and he performed well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hard part right now is you look at Arizona. We want to see Marvin. He basically got the ceremonial start last week and nothing ever since. And we'll see if he plays week 3. I don't really expect it. I think we can move on, though, because Arizona wasn't a whole lot to see, but it was encouraging we saw from Benson. Now, did you see anything from the Atlanta Falcons? Because I know that Jace McClellan did have a pretty good game. You know, I didn't watch the game personally. Once I found out that Penix wasn't starting, I'm like, I'm out, man. Don't need to watch any of these guys. This is the Sean McVay coaching tree situation. They don't play anybody. Did you see anything from Atlanta Falcons players that's encouraging, that maybe could be useful for fantasy? Or anything, because Penix didn't play, so there wasn't really a reason to watch this game.
Not in the game, but I do want to talk about Michael Penix Jr. The game, I guess Jace McClellan was the big takeaway, 55 yards, long rush of 17, average 5 a pop, 11 carries. Looked good. He was a talented running back at Alabama. Career was not the type of college career that you wanted because of some injuries at Alabama and the coaching changes, but he's a talented running back. Maybe he can make the 53 or be a practice squad player. The chances are, at some point, again, you've got two hammers in the front with Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, but if something were to happen to one of those guys, and they call it McClellan, could he be a fill-in to a complementary rotational back in that offense? Sure. But I think the bigger conversation piece is around Michael Penix Jr., Jay, because they did come out and say he's not playing. He's done. Like, he is done. We've seen enough from him. And I started to, looking on social media and reading some beat reporters. There's some people that think that he may actually get on the field a lot sooner than people think. Right now, he's not going to play for 5 years, but there's some conspiracy theorists out there that think he could be on the field this year, that this whole situation around Penix playing, getting reps, Kirk Cousins, just doesn't seem all the way kosher. I don't know if you feel any differently, but there are some people out there thinking that he might play at some point this year.
I mean, I think that's a real possibility, right? You look at the other move they make, and we didn't even talk about it, but they signed Justin Simmons. Justin Simmons is not a player who's trying to not win and contend and all these things, right? This should be the easy front runner for the NFC South. And I think if anything was to happen, they should absolutely turn to Penix and see what he could do. So I 100% believe that narrative
Well,
now. I think there's also
no. I'm not talking about something happens. He's going, like, they want to get him on the field. I don't know. I'm not the contract. I talked about this with Scott. I don't know how they can or cannot get out of contracts. I don't look at that.
2
That's
years.
not my forte.
2 years.
I'm saying people are like, he's going to play this year. And I mean, hell, who else is going to win the NFC South? It's not going to be Carolina this year. I like what they're doing, but it ain't going to be them. Saints, I mean, I don't know. It's Derek Carr, dude. It's Derek Carr and Dennis Allen. That just doesn't seem like a lot of confidence. It's Tampa Bay and Atlanta.
Really? See, I think the Saints are in the contention there. So my only point that I was trying to get to was if Kirk does struggle at all, and there's that threat that maybe they're not, where they need to be, maybe they do turn to Penix, right? And like you're saying, does get on the field earlier than we expect. But I think the more concerning thing is, like, how are they going to give up these reps in practice, right? Because Kirk needs to get work with the starters. Penix probably shouldn't if he's the backup. So that's kind of weird that they're not trying to make it happen. And then I wonder if there's anything as far as injuries, like they saw J.J. McCarthy out for the season. Do they really want to risk Penix getting hurt and having the same fate potentially for them as well? If, like you're saying, they do want to play him potentially in year one. But is there anything else you want to talk about the Falcons? Because then we can get to the Ravens. No. Basically skip over them because there's nothing to talk about with the Ravens.
There's absolutely nothing to talk about from Baltimore. Josh Johnson was surgical. There you go. Go grab Josh Johnson. They didn't play anybody. They're not going to play anybody. I don't even know if Derrick Henry's. Have you seen one camp clip of Derrick Henry yet? I haven't seen anything. Have you seen anything from Lamar, Zay Flowers, and I don't know anything with Baltimore, but they'll be ready when the season starts. The one little nugget, and I think we talked about this last week, a lot of hype for Isaiah Likely right now coming out of the Baltimore camp, that he's had a very good training camp. Todd Monken, we know he likes to run 2 tight end systems. Any increased interest for Isaiah Likely, Jay?
A little bit, yeah. I think just knowing that he can fill in for Mark Andrews and also be a complement in the offense and 12 personnel, there's a reason to roster a player like that. And I think there is some built-in upside because especially for Andrews, a player who has struggled to stay healthy, I think there's a world where definitely he could be an option for them and potentially as well fill in if there was an injury or just have standalone value as well.
What's up, wifey? Wifey in the building.
Good morning.
She the baddest, 1908. GMGP to you too, baby. All right, Jay, where we going to next, man? Wait, hold on. I see some comments. I see it on the Ike says this. Shout out to Ike, man. One half off the line. Penix being on the field at any point this season is not a good thing. So he's, following down your path. Like if he's playing, then something bad happened in Atlanta or Kirk Cousins. Jeff Math said the Falcons have one of the best O-lines in the league. They should win the division. If not, that's a fail to me. They have the 2 missing pieces they now needed. And talking about those new additions of Simmons coming to the Atlanta Falcons. All right, nothing to talk about with Baltimore. Where's the next team we're going to? I think we've got something to talk about right here.
Yeah, we have probably the most disgusting game if you watched it in whole. We are going to Buffalo, but I think the big takeaway here is Ray Davis, right? Playing behind James Cook. We didn't see Josh Allen. It was Mitchell Trubisky and Ben DiNucci, which we didn't love to see, but we did see a lot of good things from Ray Davis, right? He was day 3 running back. And more importantly, they need a running back with James Cook. I don't think he can be the main guy, especially the way he was used down the stretch. But what did you see from Ray Davis, and are you encouraged about what he could be for fantasy even in year 1?
I'm looking at it right now, and I get it, right? He's playing against backups and guys that are fighting for roster spots. But you got to go out there and make the most of your opportunities. And when you see just that right there, just the decisiveness, the lateral agility, the foot speed, the quickness, this is something that made him a very dominant rusher last year at Kentucky. We got to see him and talk to him and meet him at the Senior Bowl. Not the tallest guy, but boy, is he put together and very, very muscular build. But when you see this quickness from Ray Davis, right? Ability to get skinny through the holes, finish falling forward, finishing forward. This first run right here, boom, getting through the holes, vision, patience, get to the second level. You're making defenders miss. Yards after contact, hell yeah. I'm encouraged by what Ray Davis put on tape. Again, he ain't going out there against Minkah Fitzpatrick and TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith and Connor Hayward, but you got to be able to go out there. Cam Hayward, Connor's a tight end. You've got to go out there and make the most of the opportunities that are given to you. And he put on a hell of a show. Ray Davis, 8 for 58, Long of 19, 7 yards a rush attempt. Frank Gore Jr. was also very good in that game as well, Jay, with 41 yards from Frank Gore Jr. A lot of people thought they would see Josh Allen play in this one, and then we get to the game, and then Allen's not playing. And there were a couple of people in the chat that asked about the sleeper rule. So this is a perfect example of what the sleeper rule would have done and how it would have played out in real life. You're ready to start Josh Allen. Everyone's telling you Josh Allen is going to play. You get to the game and, oh shit, he's not. Now you're locked. You got Allen in your starting spot. He's not playing. It's Mr. Trubisky. Surprise, surprise. This new rule allows you to designate a backup. So if you're a little uneasy if a player's going to play or not, you start Josh Allen, you add a backup. If your guy doesn't play, it'll auto swap him out. So that's the new rule. A lot of people don't like it. Shane, Scott, and I talked about it on the podcast feed. Check out Destination Dynasty. But yeah, Ray Davis, I don't think he's a threat to James Cook at all, but he can definitely be a complement to what James Cook provides to that offense. I like what I saw. Those runs, that type of skill set. Yes, it gets more difficult the tougher defenses you play, but I like the skill set that he put on tape, man.
Yeah, the entire Buffalo running game, we saw the strength of it in the back half of last season, and you're continuing to see it into this preseason, so it's encouraging for what we could see from James Cook in the regular season. But Ray, another team that is just so good, they don't even need to play their starters in preseason, is the Carolina Panthers. Dave Canales has had Bryce Young under wraps and only playing in practice. If you're a big fan of Jonathan Mingo, then you probably loved to watch this. I don't know
answer the question. Is he hiding him? Is he hiding Bryce? Is he hiding him, or is he like, you're good, we don't even need to play you?
I do think he's hiding him a little bit. I got to be real. I'm not there yet with Bryce. I've liked what we've seen in practice, but I still need to see some encouraging signs, in some game action outside of practice. We'll see. But again, no one really played. I know you want to talk about,
apparently he looks good in practice, man. The things that are coming out is he's getting the ball out quicker. You're seeing those far hash to outside line throws. You got Deontay Johnson. You bring in a Leggett. I know he's been kind of in and out. Adam Thielen there. The reports are positive. We ain't seen it, but the reports are positive out there on Bryce Young. One of the players that I do want to talk about from this game, how do I don't want to say sneaky, because I do think he's going to get his opportunity to seize the role. It's just rookie tight ends, right? We know that normally it takes a little bit of time. You don't want to be investing, especially for early production, with rookie tight ends. And I know that this tight end, Jatavian Sanders, didn't have the best combine score or didn't run the fastest. But I'm telling you right now, some of the plays, and we got some clips right here, Jay, right here at the top of the screen. You'll see him right here. Nice hands catch, get active, boom, put your shoulder into him, get up, point for the first down, talk shit. JT Sanders comes back, little chip play, little delayed release, get the ball, nice little hands catch right there. 2 catches, 22 yards, getting up, talking a lot of shit. I like it. I think this kid can play, Jay. I'm very excited to see him work in tandem with Dave Canales, with Bryce Young. We know what Canales did with Cade Otton last year, rookie tight end. I believe, I'm not mistaken, I know the chat will let me know, Otton might have been a 4th-round pick, the same as JT Sanders. This is a young tight end that I'm very much interested in Dynasty. Redraft and seasonal leagues, not as much, but JT Sanders, man, what do you think? You think he's got a shot to usurp Ian Thomas and Tommy Tremble?
I don't know about a chance to usurp, but I think the big takeaway here when you talk about Dave Canales and tight ends, you brought up the fact they're both 4th-round picks, but you didn't bring up the fact that Cade Otton ran the most snaps at tight end last season. So you talk about a player who's up there in snaps, they're going to use the tight end, they're going to be on the field. Ultimately, if you're talking about Sanders and what he can be in this offense, you need him to be on the field, and it's an encouraging sign knowing that Canales had Otton on the field a lot last season. What can he be? I don't know, but it all hinges on Bryce Young, right? We want to see Bryce Young because we know what Canales did with Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith, and until we see it, it's hard to kind of believe and understand what Bryce Young is going to be and where he's at right now in his development. I think that's the reason why it's hard not to see him, but I am liking what we're seeing from Sanders, and it's encouraging. It just sucks that he's playing in these games, because if he wasn't, it probably means he's higher up the depth chart.
Yeah, Dylan Johnson, the rookie running back from Washington, just was fed this game. I think he had like 80 yards and a touchdown. Looking at the chat, Xavier says, how are we feeling about James Cook and his role? He was kind of a bell cow the better half of the year. I feel good about him. I think he's going to be the bell cow running back. I'm using air quotes if you're not watching, whatever that means. And I do think he'll be the primary running back for Buffalo. I feel good about James Cook. Zach says Davis looks decisive. Love that. Adam OC says Ray Davis's vision, and he's giving the thumbs up right there, right? Hang loose. Good shit right there for Ray Davis. And a lot of people, Rubio said, I've been drafting a lot of Ray Davis over the past months. Glad to see this. Yeah, looked really good. And then Xavier came back, drafted a lot of Sanders. All those other tight ends are just Jags. Yeah. I mean, Ian Thomas, Tommy Tremble, yuck, yuck, yuck. Joe, what's up, my girl? Sean Tucker's still looking good. We'll talk about Sean Tucker later, Joe. And no, nothing else to talk about from the game. No, Big John Mingo is not a thing here anymore. Jay, where's the next game we're going? The next team we're going to? Because I feel like we're going to spend a little bit of time here, as this was a good one. At least it was good from one side.
Yeah, if we got one team really showed up in this game, and of course we're talking about none other than Mr. Number One himself, Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. Ray, we saw a little bit in week 1. We saw a little bit more in week 2. Talk to the people about what you saw from Caleb Williams in his second preseason game, from the starters, from the running backs, from the offense. How do you feel about the Chicago Bears right now?
Here's what I'll say. If I have to be brutally honest, the best quarterback in the game was Tyson Bagent. He performed the best. He had a very good outing. But that don't mean nothing. No, you didn't watch the game, so you can't womp shit.
I didn't watch that far into the game. I watched Caleb Williams.
You absolutely did not. You absolutely did not. He was awesome. Tyson Bagent, he played against 4th string. He was awesome. Everybody was talking about how good he was. Even Jim Nagy, I can't believe this guy was undrafted. Caleb, 6 for 13. But the plays that he made, dude, like, yeah, there were some areas that he needed to clean up. But just the special, innate ability to have this sixth sense, to have eyes in the back of his head, the playmaking ability. This is why Caleb Williams was the number 1 pick. This is why during the entire draft process, when people want to have these silly-ass narratives about him, you're foolish. There was no quarterback in this class better than what Caleb Williams can bring to the table. Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, all of them incredible talents. They're not Caleb Williams. This young man is going to be special in the NFL for a very long time. And the supporting cast that he has is only going to help him achieve that level of greatness. I don't know about Chicago's infrastructure, Ryan Poles. I'm not sure about Matt Eberflus long term, but I'm very, very sure about Caleb Williams. And this young man, I mean, Jay, we're about to show some of the clips. I mean, it is just ridiculous. And the crazy part about this is he's been doing it from the very first opportunity he had to step on the football field. When he took over for Spencer Rattler in the Red River rivalry a few years ago, it's been nothing but up since then. And he's only gotten better and better and better. And you see right here in the game, man, right here, stepping up in the pocket, the roll. This is just, Jay.
Yeah.
I
the
mean,
hips and over the defender is insane.
I don't even want to, there's nothing to say. It is just, and look at him, just the swag to step away, JRich. Look at him. Oh, yeah.
You knew he had it. The little back pedal.
In the freaking bucket, dude. This is special. And that's to Rome Odunze right now. This kid, this team is going to be special. It's not just stop there. Odunze, another one. Look at Caleb. I'm going to manipulate the defender. Boom. Little hezzy. And just a rocket. Goddamn Odunze standing out of bounds, but that's okay. The Bears got to do that. It's a little unfair to Odunze right there, Jay. But this, I don't know what else to say. Bagent was awesome. Played really good in the game. But seeing the special ability of Caleb Williams, dude, I'm very excited, dude. And Joe, I see the chat. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say who he looks like. I'm not going to do it. The kid is special, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about how Bo Nix is a tough sack, and I think that Caleb Williams is an even tougher sack, right? His escapability in the pocket, it's just on full display, and I think that's where, we see Caleb kind of get into trouble sometimes, but we also see a lot of spectacular from him. So it's like, it's the mix, and it's why people are a little polarizing about him, because he's not that typical stand in the pocket, deliver the ball, but he can do that, but you also see the escapability and the spectacular that you don't see from, 29 other quarterbacks in the NFL, and so it makes Caleb have such a high ceiling. And I think there is a world, Ray, where he could be a top 10, top 8 quarterback, even as early as this season, because what we've seen from him so far is so encouraging. I do have to ask you, though, how are you feeling about the offense currently? It was one of our biggest issues with this team is what's it going to look like on offense? We have the playmakers, Gerald Everett, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift, Moore, Allen, Odunze. They're all there with Caleb. They look good right now. How are you feeling about the offense, though? Do you think they can deliver on that top, 10 potential offense for the NFL?
This is not a preseason reactionary take. We said this literally, you go back to like the moment it was officially they're going to take Caleb Williams, I believe like in April. We were like, they are. When everybody was looking for this year's version of the Houston Texans, I was like, look no further than Chicago. Like, don't even overthink it. It's the Bears. Now, the difficult thing is the division is tough, man. That the NFC North is a very difficult division. This is, man. He's going to deliver and he's going to return the value. Let's talk about some other players in this game, though. You got some tight end snaps, right? There's some concerning stuff if you're a Cole Kmet manager.
Yeah, I mean, it's not concerning yet, but definitely it is concerning to see Gerald Everett running ahead of Cole Kmet. It was a situation we talked about when talking about the weapons. Gerald Everett is a player who has looked good the past few years, and now he's in Chicago and going to potentially be the primary tight end, at least receiving tight end for Caleb Williams. And when you have Kmet, who's been established in the offense, but they bring in a new OC, new playmakers, and all of a sudden you have new roles, and Kmet could be a little bit asked out in this situation because Everett has 29 snaps with Caleb Williams and Cole Kmet only has 19. We'll see how it plays out during the season, but if you don't have Gerald Everett ahead of Cole Kmet right now, I think you should be reconsidering that a little bit. And then you talk about the wide receiver snap counts of the 29 they've been on the field. This is from Adam Levitan and ETR. DJ Moore, 26 snaps. Keenan Allen, 25. Rome Odunze, 18. So still a pretty solid snap share for Rome Odunze, and looking at about a 65-70% 11 personnel snap for Odunze, which is solid and will give him some production in his rookie season if that continues.
Yeah, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen. I think they were out there for 5. They weren't out there for a lot of time together. DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. But I'm very encouraged by the Bears. I think their running game is going to be good with DeAndre Swift, Khalil Herbert. Wheels up for the Chicago Bears, this year's version of the Houston Texans. Now, Jay, another team in this game, and they're up next on the list to talk about, the Cincinnati Bengals. Jay, there were reports that from people who have been around Cincinnati since the time Zach Taylor came into the building and Joe Burrow got there, and the reports were this week in joint practices versus the Bears, it was the stone worst they have ever seen the offense look. They couldn't do jack shit in practice. Nothing. It said they have not seen a team get dominated as bad as the Cincinnati team did in the joint practices versus the Bears. And we actually have some inside footage, Jay, of some reps in practice. You got some Jalen Johnson locking up Yoshi Voss, who didn't look like he tried very hard right there. Got Joe Burrow, full padded practice right there, almost picked off by Jalen Johnson again. Yeah, these are just things that the beat reporters from Chicago were saying, from Cincinnati were saying about these practices. And you could say what you want about preseason. Like, this is one-on-one here. These are starters versus starters. So this is very much relevant, at least information that we have opposed to some of the things that we see in the preseason. What are your thoughts on the Cincinnati Bengals? They didn't play anybody. They put Logan Whiteside out there as the sacrificial lamb, and he was obliterated. Kyler Gordon came off the edge on a corner blitz. I was like, he broke him in half. He literally broke his body. So they just threw those guys out there. Nobody played. Amarius Mims is out right now. He's hurt. Jamar Chase is like holding in, not doing anything. Is there anything, and there's nothing to take away from the game, but anything that's concerning to you about Cincinnati from the practice reports or whatever you're hearing about behind the scenes? Now, for me, not really, but it's just that's relevant information for the week. Step it up. The Bears kicked y'all ass.
Yeah, I think it's much more relevant when you talk about the Bears defense, right? But as far as the Bengals themselves, I'm not concerned yet. Burrow's always been a player that I just trust and believe in, and especially the biggest thing, as you're talking about, they need to get Jamar Chase on the field. They looked pretty good last week, and I will give them that credit. I did like what I saw from Burrow. Would they have done that in the game? Hard to say, but they're getting locked up in practice. That's not great. I think that's more indicative of the Bears defense, though, and I think they could be pretty good this season. Everyone wants to fire Eberflus, but that defense, ever since they traded for Montez Sweat, has only got better and better. But back to Cincinnati, they need to get Jamar Chase on the field. It's so important for them to have him when they already have T. Higgins, who's playing on the franchise tag, and they got Jamar Chase holding in and not available yet. Like, they need to get him signed and they need to get him back to make sure he's getting those reps with Burrow. Outside of that, I'm not overly concerned. I'm willing to kind of see how it plays out. But I think we're going to find out, Ray, was Brian Callahan a bigger part of this offensive game plan weekly than Zach Taylor? Because a lot of people give Zach Taylor the credit, but there's also a lot of people who think that Zach Taylor is to blame when things go wrong. So we may see a potentially worse offense this season than we've seen in the past, because Callahan was the guy that really got them on schedule, and Taylor's the one who holds them back a little bit. Because I think Scott feels that way a little bit about the Bengals, and whether Taylor is really a big part as to whether they're successful or not, or it's just all on Joe Burrow.
So a couple of comments that I want to address in the chat. Really good stuff right here. Appreciate you. We got one right here. Good stuff today, gents. Gents deserves a like. Make sure y'all hit that like button, man. Hit that. It helps us out a lot. Joe said, Ocho Cinco. So Chad Johnson, can't really see it right there. Chad Johnson said the Bengals will either sign Chase or Chase will sit until he does. Can he do that? And then Jimbo right underneath it says, I can't be the only one getting a smidge worried about these guys not getting the deals they want. That's in reference to Jamar Chase, potentially, CeeDee Lamb, which we'll talk about here shortly, Brandon Ayuk, which we'll talk about a little later down the show, and then more comments about the Bears defense just being absolutely ridiculous this year, which they should be. Let's address Jimbo's comment. Are you a little worried about some of these guys? I'll say this, man, from what I heard, and we'll get to Dallas here in a second, but what I've heard about CeeDee Lamb, I'm a little bit, but not really, but we'll talk about that, but a little bit. All right, Cleveland Browns.
You see anything from Cleveland? They play anybody this week?
They played Deonta Foreman, who was who just smashed, man. Rushing TD, receiving yards. I mean, Deonta Foreman was out there just making it happen. But by and large, no, they didn't play anybody. No, Nick Chubb's not going to play, but no Jerry Jeudy, no Amari Cooper, no Elijah Moore, no David Njoku. But we did get some nice stuff out of practice. You want to see some Jerry Jeudy porn early on Monday morning? Jerry Jeudy.
Oh yeah.
One of these. What we should have done is add the what is it? The Kanye West. If Young Metro don't trust you, I'ma shoot you. Beautiful morning. That should have been the overlay of one of these routes. This one right here. Boom. Look at that, Jay. Yeah, just nasty right there. That's a if Young Metro don't trust you, I'ma boom. Beautiful morning. Because don't nobody know what they say on that part. They just hum that part. But Jerry Jeudy looking good in practice, routing up the Minnesota Vikings. Got Deshaun Watson right here. Look at his end zone toss. Give me that. 2 feet down.
Ooh.
Jerry Jeudy rocking the number 3. Are you excited about Jeudy this year? They didn't do a damn thing in the game, but reports have been Jerry Jeudy looking good. Look at him and Elijah Moore doing a little dizzy dance right there. How we feeling about Jeudy this year?
Ray, the same way I feel about Jerry Jeudy every single year. He's great in man coverage, but in zone coverage, he's not so good. So when the NFL is 70% and increasing every year, I believe they're like 72% zone coverage last season. The biggest thing is, like, do you have the guys that can get open against zone? They have Amari Cooper who can do that. Can Jerry Jeudy do that and be effective? We're going to see. And I think there's also a lot of conversation as to whether Deshaun Watson is back or what Deshaun Watson is. I'm not quite there yet.
The Jeudy haters are Leo Scott, LOL. You know it's preseason when we got the Jeudy hype train. Derek Brown, Jeudy, too bad Jeudy can't do that in games. He bobbled the ball. Y'all some damn haters, man. Give Jerry. Man, let me go. Y'all need me to sing the song again. All right, I'm going to do it. Here we go. If Young Metro don't trust you, I'm a boom. Beautiful morning. On it, bang. Nothing in the water. I just want to be a little red eye. Is that how it goes, Jay?
I will take your word for it.
Right.
I saw that song performed live, and I still don't know what he says.
And hey, he looks good. He's in a division that's going to score a lot of points. Let's give Jerry. He needed a QB. The hell was he supposed to do in Denver? He didn't have Bo Nix.
Well, he could have had Bo Nix if he wanted to stay, right? They picked Courtland Sutton over him, and they traded them away. So I think they did that for a reason, and no one's out here saying Courtland Sutton's the next big thing. But with Bo Nix,
all right,
I mean, you never know.
All right.
Can you please, Ray, talk about your Dallas Cowboys? CeeDee Lamb, as you mentioned, still no contract, still holding out. Trey Lance, your preseason darling, once again getting a ton of snaps. Where are you at with your Cowboys right now?
Reports and rumors are Dallas offered CeeDee Lamb $33 million per year, which I think would still place him second behind Justin Jefferson. The reports that I've heard are there still big issues around the guaranteed money, and he is not
Sounds like
signing
Dallas
whatever
to
they've
me.
offered. Like he's going to, they're going to sign him. He's going to be there week 1. I don't know. It's just
Did you see the report from Mike Greenberg when he was on McAfee's show about how
Mm-mm.
apparently the Cowboys have spent the least amount of money on
Oh
players
yeah,
in like I don't know how many years it was, but it's crazy
all
like to
time
think how good they are and they
of all
still
time,
every year spend the least amount of
cheap as
money on
hell.
their players.
Yeah, cheap as
It's
hell.
nuts.
Cheap, and I don't know why. I don't
Yeah,
understand it. But
they
33 mil a
have the
year
money.
is apparently the offer that's on the table for him. I mean, the Cowboys overall in the game, it was Trey Lance. It was Trey Lance. Deuce Vaughn looked good. He had a couple of nice runs, but there's
Yep.
not a lot to talk about besides Trey Lance's preseason fantasy monster. 150 passing yards, touchdown, running all over the place. And I'm listening to the broadcast and I'm just shaking my head because I feel like they're trying to push this Trey Lance narrative that he could be the starter of the future, and I'm just not
He may
buying
have
it,
to be.
Jay. I am not buying it. There's nothing to take away from Dallas. We'll see the boys in week 1 versus the Cleveland Browns versus that Jerry Jeudy we just talked about. So nothing that is there anything do you feel differently about Trey Lance? Because I don't.
No, I'm just curious who's going to be on the field for that game against the Browns because we know who's going to be on the field for the Browns, but I think there's a fair question as to what it's going to be like, what the tension and things are going to be like in Dallas when week 1 comes around. Well, then we can move on, Ray, to something that we have been dying to talk about ever since last night because at 8 o'clock, it was announced, or maybe it wasn't announced, that Bo Nix was going to start for the Denver Broncos, Ray. And by goodness, was he good. Last week we talked about how we need to see more from Bo Nix. He performed at that level playing behind Jarrett Stidham. This week, Sean Payton said, Bo Nix, get out there, young fella. And he looked phenomenal. He had a touchdown called back because he was just past the line of scrimmage. But man, whether it was throwing on the run, in play action, reading the defense, a lot of encouraging signs. I think they are running more of an offense than a lot of teams are right now in the preseason, but it is difficult to deny that Bo Nix looks phenomenal through 2 games of the preseason, Ray. Where are you at on Bo Nix, and what have you seen from this Denver Broncos offense?
Jay, I think did we what was the thing we said is if he becomes a Pro Bowler, we'll just quit. Like we won't do the show anymore. It'll just go away.
I don't know if
I'm a little nervous. I'm getting a little nervous, Jay. I can't deny it. It's early. It's 2 preseason games. But what he's done through 2 games, Jay, I'm very encouraged. He looks tailor-made for Sean Payton. He looks good. He's athletic. He can run. The arm strength is there.
Yeah.
8 for 9, 80 yards.
Left, running right.
Tim Patrick targeting the slot 4 times of his 8 completions. Keep that on your radar. He targeted the slot 4 times of his 8 completions, completed them all to Tim Patrick. Bo Nix looks really good. He looks really good. He might not have done the spectacular that Caleb Williams has done or have the built-in hype that Jaden Daniels has, right? But he's played just as good as any of those guys, if not better than Jaden Daniels through the first 2 games. He's been asked to do a little bit more offensively from the quarterback position. Very, very, very encouraged. And for anybody that drafted him in the 2nd round of a rookie draft, I've done a couple of startups this offseason auction where he was going for like $50, Jay. People didn't even want to spend 10% of the budget on a quarterback in Superflex. You are laughing to the bank right now. Now, is it going to translate and carry over to the season? Who knows? But what he's been asked to do so far through the preseason and what he's put on wax with his legs and his arm, you got to give him his credit. Hats off to Bo Nix. He is making a lot of people look silly early on. And the interesting thing about it is, if this were somebody else, if it were J.J. McCarthy or Michael Penix, people have freaking hard on right now for it. So don't let the bias influence the information. And that's what we do. When the information is presented and it says something different, and right now through 2 weeks, it says that Bo Nix belongs in the league. Now, we'll see how it plays out once we get to the season, but very encouraged by what we've seen from him in the first 2 weeks, and especially this game versus Green Bay.
Yeah, very, very encouraging. He made all the throws. He did everything he had to do. He looked great, even in play action. And some of the run fakes he did. I was really, really encouraged. You saw from Nix, and I think the biggest takeaway for me, Ray, is I think that Sean Payton was right to draft him that high, and I think there is a world where he does pay out at that price. There's a lot of people, me included, who was very critical of that 12th overall selection, and maybe they could have got him a little bit later. But he definitely looks like he's a guy that is comparable to where you'd take a guy like a JJ McCarthy, like a Bo Nix, and could pay out for this franchise, and I think should be the starter, right? We're talking about Stidham versus Nix, and it seems like at this point, he's won that job, right? And I think it's very good for him.
I see a lot of people saying Kenny Pickett looked good in the preseason.
That's fair. He did. Yeah, these things happen, right? But I think Nix looks good.
So what? But it's not fair. It's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's just bias, man. It's just bias Pickett, because he's a rookie quarterback. He was a top 15 pick, just like Drake May, just like Caleb Williams, just like Michael Penix. Like, this is what I don't like. This is why sometimes I can't talk to fantasy football people, because like it's not fair, because he's a top 12 pick just like anybody else. And the only reason that people are, did nobody say Kenny Pickett looked good when it was Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels or Drake May or JJ McCarthy or Michael Penix's 9 for 16 performance in week 1 versus Miami? Didn't a soul say Kenny Pickett looked good? But because you didn't like Bo Nix coming in, you're too prideful or too stubborn to say, you know what? Sean Payton is probably a pretty damn good coach that didn't want anything to do with Russell Wilson. This young man has a skill set. He's got arm. He's got the legs. He was proficient in college once he got out of god-awful Auburn. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I don't do. If I'm wrong, goddammit, I'll just say I'm wrong. But don't do this, he looked good. If that's the case, say that about every rookie quarterback then. That's bullshit, Jay.
I mean, it depends on who you are, right?
There's no depending.
It is difficult to deny how badly we got faked out on Kenny Pickett. But at the other point, to your credit, Bo Nix is the highest completion percentage passer in college football history at 77.4%. And you see that on display every single time he hits the field. He's decisive, he's quick, he's accurate. That's how you succeed in the NFL. When you talk about players that don't succeed, it's the Justin Fields and the guys that hold the ball too long like Kenny Pickett. You don't see that same rush in the preseason that you do in the regular season, but Bo Nix is ready for that from his time at Auburn, playing at Oregon, and all these things.
Everybody in here, y'all not listen to the things that we said? Are you not listening? How many times did I say it's early, it's 2 games, it's the preseason, we'll see if it continues, but we're talking about what's been put. No shit, if we get to week 5 and he's not doing anything, then we'll be like he's not good. We're talking about what's been put on wax today. What's he done so far? Like, stop. People are ridiculous, man. I'm telling you, dog. Like, this is... Sure, once we get to week 10 and we know everything, then it's easy to go back and say it. Have the stones to say something before it happens. We'll look back once we get to week 5. How many times did I say it's week 2 of the preseason? We got to see how it translates out in the season. Like, listen, active listening. People just be trying to speak, hear what we're talking about. Where we at, Jay?
Can we play a quick game before we head on? Because I do want your take on this real quick. Bo Nix, would you rather? And we're starting with Michael Penix versus Bo Nix.
Okay.
Who do you want, Michael Penix or Bo Nix? Straight up.
What
was that pause?
I'll take Penix still.
Okay, Bo Nix or JJ McCarthy? Which is interesting because JJ McCarthy's out for the year now.
So I'm taking Bo Nix is playing, so I'm taking Bo Nix right now. Bo Nix.
Bo Nix or Bryce Young in that Carolina offense that is very ambiguous right now. We don't know how they look. You love yourself some Bryce Young. Bryce. Oh, was that a reluctant Bryce Young?
Bryce, I'll take. Don't ask. Give me another. Was that the last one?
There's one more. Bo Nix or Drake May. That's actually tough. Drake is probably not going to do much this year.
Nix. I'll take Nix.
I think if you want to bet on what Nix can be this year and show out enough to retain and gain some value versus May, who's probably going to fall down the board. So May right now is QB 18. and 57 overall on KTC. Nix is QB 22 and 89 overall. So there is a bit of a gap there in value.
Yeah. I'll take Nix at the cross. Give me
those
Nix
young signal callers are slightly ahead of Nix in terms of value, but definitely he could move past all of them. But next you have Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, Tua. He's not past those guys yet.
No.
But I think in terms of those young signal callers, it's an interesting conversation, and I wanted to bring that up. But Ray, there is a player that we are worried about right now, and I tried to bring this up on our Bleacher Report show, and you dismissed it entirely. But we are at the Detroit Lions now, and they didn't play anybody in preseason.
No.
But where are you at on Jahmyr Gibbs? Because initially, he was going to be ready for week 1. And then the reports were kind of lukewarm, in my opinion, as to how they were reporting his injury. They're going to take it slow. They're going to see where he's at. He should be ready for week 1. But it wasn't so much that they were confident, guarantee, or anything like that. Now, Dan Campbell is fairly reliable in the way he reports injuries. We've seen that from Coach Speak Index. But where are you at on Jahmyr Gibbs? Do you have any concerns about him being ready for week 1?
No. Everything that I've heard says he's going to be there week 1. Everything that I'm reading, I'm still drafting him. Whenever he's falling on underdog, he was going around like the 112, 113 spot. He's falling to like 118, 119. I'm grabbing him every single time. I'm not worried. And even if he is a little slow to start the season, I'm not drafting him for that week 2 stack, for that week 3 game. I need you down the stretch, big dog. So I think this is, sure, you're concerned, right? Soft tissue injuries with an explosive, quick twitchy running back. And I do believe that he's had prior hamstring issues. Yeah, you're a little concerned, but is it going to concern me to the point where I'm fading Jahmyr Gibbs and I'm not going to draft him? No. I think he's going to be, D-Bro said it, no concern. What he saw says he should be ready for week 1. Yes, it's always concerning to hear an injury, but if you're telling me he's going to be ready, even if they said he'll be 100% by week 2, I'm drafting him with full confidence.
Yeah,
I agree with Luke here. Luke says Montgomery is steal, regardless of if Gibbs misses time or not. I'm with you. Luke, I'm with you. I think Monty's in for another big season as well, even if Jahmyr Gibbs is ready for week 1.
Yeah, even if he's fully healthy, right? If there's any additional touches that go to Montgomery as a result of this, hamstring injury, whether that's, him being on the field or not, it's only a benefit to Montgomery. I'm totally with you there. Ray, I don't know if you want to talk about the Green Bay Packers. They literally played nobody. Like they didn't even throw Jordan Love out there this week. They played him a bit last week. Packers didn't play anybody. It was a hell of a lot of backups. Terrible QB play.
I do have a question.
It was not fun.
Any reports on Marshawn Lloyd and his hamstring injury? What's up with all these hamstring injuries, man? What the hell is going on? What is happening?
I haven't seen anything about him yet. It's still a question as to whether A.J. Dillon's going to be the backup running back or not. But yeah, I haven't seen anything about Marshawn Lloyd and what he could be. But again, if he is hurt and not available for week 1, it could be the A.J. Dillon show. But we hope to see Lloyd on the field at some point. But Ray, let's move on to the Houston Texans, because we did see a couple of great series from C.J. Stroud. In my opinion, he was surgical yet again. He was decisive. He got the ball to Nico Collins, got the ball to Stephon Diggs, a little bit less Tank Dell. And for people who weren't watching the games or haven't been charting like they have at ETR, Texans starters and C.J. Stroud have played 23 snaps this preseason. The wide receiver snaps are as follows: Nico Collins, 21 of 23. Stephon Diggs, 18 of 23. Tank Dell, 14. Woods with 3, Noah Brown with 2, Xavier Hutchinson with 1, and John Mechie looked phenomenal with the 2s this past week, led the team in receiving. But Ray, where are you at on the Houston Texans? How do you feel about them through 2 weeks of the preseason?
All of them, Jay. Give them to me. All of them. Did you see J.J. Taylor get run down by the defensive lineman from the Giants?
Was crazy. The Giants, yeah.
Holy crap. Probably that should have been the play of the weekend. Probably the best play of the weekend was
like a 40-yard chase down.
Yeah, he's sprinting 50 yards down the field, and he runs down J.J. Taylor. Not a good look for the running back on that one. But as far as the Houston Texans are concerned, I want all of them, Jay. Nico, Diggs,
You okay with that Tank snap share?
He's going to be the third receiver. He's going to be the third receiver. But here's what I think is going to happen with Dell. His efficiency is going to be through the roof. When he goes out there and he's out there in 3 wide receiver sets, he's facing one-on-one coverage with the third corner. Safety's not going to be able to drop over top of him because you got to worry about Diggs and Nico Collins. So you're talking about one-on-one with one of the shiftiest players in the NFL. I mean, it's going to be feast. Deep digs, deep crossers, post routes, seam routes with Tank Dell. I'm not anticipating him being a 100-catch guy, but I do think he's the type of big play threat. Can he be like a more refined version of a big play Will Fuller? Somebody that Houston had in the past that scores a bunch of long touchdowns, but he's a little more proficient in the intermediate route area as well. I think there are a couple of sleepers on this team. I know people don't like the name Dalton Schultz, but he's just a reliable target. He's just like a cheap tight end that you're going to be able to get, and you could pencil in 5 to 7 targets a week. He might get in the end zone. I love what they're doing with him, and they brought him back for a reason. And the second tight end for Houston, Brevin Jordan. A lot of people liked him coming out of Miami a couple of years ago. Played in this game, had 2 catches, 16 yards. D'Amico Ryans has already come out and say he is the number 2 tight end for our team. This is going to be a very good team. CJ Stroud, I know a lot of people were worried about the return on that early round investment. He's probably going to cash that. This is going to be a very, very good offense. And I like the fact that they are not fearful of playing their starters just to give them some practice, give them some reps. Texans are going to be a problem this year, man.
Yeah, it looks very good. And, a lot of people are saying in the chat, it's Tank Dell is CJ Stroud's guy, right? He's going to get him the ball. And I think that's definitely true. We know that connection's been well established. We know that Stroud wanted him in the draft and they got him. And lo and behold, it actually worked out even better than they probably imagined. But they do have so many playmakers on this offense. And Derek Brown said it here. Tank is TY 2.0. T.Y. Hilton, for those who are a little bit newer to fantasy football. T.Y. Hilton throwback. Haven't heard T.Y. in a minute.
I kind of like that.
Ray, what's funny is, was it T.Y. Hilton who killed the Texans like every single year? God. So is Tank going to be the Colt killer?
Yeah. Legit. Now, he'll have to be like a dialed back version of T.Y. because he won't get the targets. But I can definitely see some T.Y. Hilton's got a son in college right now, man, playing ball.
Where does he play? Is he at?
I don't know
OSU? I forget where he went.
Is he going to? Is he a high school guy? Big, neither here nor there.
Wisconsin.
I know he's got a son.
Wisconsin.
There it is. T.Y.
Yeah,
man, we are
Wisconsin.
old. We are old. Okay. Anything else from Houston? Jay, I just got to do it. And I know there are some loyal DD fans in the building. Cam Akers is pushing for a roster spot, Jay. He is pushing. Listen. I've seen, I am, for those of you who don't know, I tore my Achilles tendon 2 years ago at the Fantasy Football Expo on a 2-yard hitch route. Wasn't even a deep play. Tore that Achilles.
Game-winning hitch route at that.
It did win the game. Game. Neither here nor there, Jay. But what we've heard is Akers tore both Achilles tendons. And what the doctors say after you tear the thing, it's indestructible. Like, you won't tear it again. It is adamantium in the back of your leg. So he's got Wolverine blood at this point. There's some people that think like he could be okay now, and he's still like 23 years old. I'm just saying he could push for a roster spot. Dameon Pierce is not good. Dameon Pierce, he's the number 2 back, but he is not good. Let's get some Cam Akers on the field behind Joe Mixon. That's all I'm going to say, Jay.
Yeah, I think he's a great compliment to Mixon, right? We know that Mixon is, whether you like his explosion or not.
I'm getting called out. Whenever I get called out, Luke said I'm selling beans. He gave me he said it's hopium. He said I am selling beans. All right. Don't even go there, Jay. I've been called out. Dan said hopium. They are not buying the old GQ beans today. Let's move on. Next team. I'm not. Y'all ain't finna talk about me on my own show. Screw that. Next team, Jay. Where we going? Y'all ain't finna do me dirty today.
D-Bro is such a professional that he can even give us a segue in the chat because we are transitioning to T.Y. Hilton's team in the Indianapolis Colts, who didn't play Anthony Richardson. We didn't even see, the wide receiver on the field either, A.D. Mitchell. No one played for the Indianapolis Colts. Ray, did you have any takeaways? I watched the game.
I do.
Literally nothing from the Colts for me.
They didn't play anybody. They did not play anybody, but they had practice this week. Joint practice, again, versus the Arizona Cardinals. You saw the game. They played it. Jay, he's going to make people look wrong. Adonai Mitchell is going to make a lot of people look silly. I know, D-Bro, you're in the chat and you don't like him. You better get used to it. When you see stuff, look at this in route, Jay. My God. Look at 6'3", 210 pounds with that type of speed and quickness and look at the shoulder dip, double move. You know how difficult this catch is to make? Like that is an elite grab by a player. And let's not forget, Jay, because people don't watch any college football. They just start to pick up narratives as the season goes on. When Anthony Richardson had a slot that can get down the field that was fast, his name was Ricky Pearsall. I think it was like 16 yards per attempt per reception. Adnan Mitchell, with Josh Downs being down, has been playing and rotating in the slot. He has been playing in the slot in 3 wide receiver sets. I think he's going to make people look real silly. This young man can play, and Shane Steichen is a hell of a coach. So it didn't happen in the game, but practice reports were glowing about Adnan Mitchell. It's one of the players that I've liked for a long time. Talked about him all through the draft process. He is going to be a nice player for the Indianapolis Colts. I'm not saying he's going to be some superstar all-pro, but he's going to be a very nice player. And I think in a format like best ball where you don't have to worry about those spike weeks, you don't have to worry about the consistency. Yeah. He's somebody that I want on every single roster. Give me all the Adnan Mitchell. It's going to make a lot of people look bad.
Now, really quickly, Ray, is there any concerns for you about Josh Downs' role relative to A.D. Mitchell? Do you think he could potentially supplant Josh Downs in the pecking order this season?
I like Josh Downs.
I like Downs a lot. I don't think
Go back 3 years ago, I did a film breakdown on him. What did I say the biggest issue with Josh Downs is? Just can't stay. He can't stay on the field. There's always something wrong. Go back to North Carolina. There's always something going on with Josh Downs. And you're starting to see this from other teams talking about, like, look at Kendre Miller. Your best ability is your availability. And if you're not around to be implemented, to get game plan, to get the schemes, you're not going to play and you're not going to be effective. Yep. So you got to be on the field. And for him missing 4 to 6 weeks, I think this is a big opportunity for Adnan Mitchell. I'm in on Adnan, Jay. Where we going next, baby? Duval?
We do have to go to Duval County because once again, your boy, your favorite quarterback from the 2020 draft class, Mac Jones, was balling yet again. Mac Jones showing out for the Jacksonville Jaguars as their backup QB. Look at this throw from Mac down the sideline to, who was that to? I know he likes Parker Washington, but I have no idea who number 80 is on the the cameraman is doing us dirty. The throw is fabulous.
I mean, Mac Jones, 16 for 23, 210, 2 touchdowns. Jay, I'm telling you right now, he's going to start again in the NFL. He will get another chance. I'm telling you right now, he will get another chance. He delivered a ball to Parker Washington down the seam that was beautiful. Hit that back foot, boom. I mean, the Patriots were a dump. Y'all, can we talk like Matthew Judon was on, what was he on, the Pivot or one of those shows? He was
traded too.
And he talked about how dysfunctional the Patriots organization was around him. And he said, like, nobody was succeeding in this situation. Like, NFL, people know, man. People, like, the reality is, in football, your situation matters. It does. Period. It matters. The situation was awful. You can't tell me that he was like okay as a rookie and then just absolute shit for 2 years after that. Go get Matt Patricia to go call plays for Dak Prescott and see what happens. It probably will not end well. You know what I'm saying? This is and then who's the other guy? McAdoo or whatever they had going on there. It's just a mess. Mac played
Bill
well.
O'Brien.
Bill O'Brien. We need that. But really, Brian Thomas, man, look at this route. Little BTJ right here at the top of the screen. Mac Jones playing quarterback. Watch old Brian Thomas. Give him a little stutter. Nice out route. Nice catch. And Jay, isn't that interesting? We always talk about, some of the things that I'll talk about are which routes actually matter in fantasy football, right? The routes that actually matter. We see all these things that show this route and show that route. The routes that matter, you want out routes. Out route, hitch route, go route. Out, hitch, go. Out, hitch, go. Hitch, out, go. Hog routes. Those are the routes that score the most fantasy points, period. There's no question about it. It's good to see him running the things that actually score us fantasy points. It's the out route. Brian Thomas Jr., I'm excited about this young man, Jay. You feeling good about BTJ?
Yeah, he's still my dark horse to lead rookies in receiving yards. Now, it's very unlikely with Marvin Harrison Jr. being a factor, but if you were talking about between him and league neighbors, I think there's a real conversation that with the volume that we expect from the Jaguars, there could be a world where BTJ does have a great season. Now, he does have 2 receivers probably ahead of him in the pecking order, but we'll see. I'm very encouraged with what we've seen so far. He's going to play a lot, and we should expect that. but I definitely liked that. Do you have any thoughts on Tank Bigsby? Because he looked good again. Another week of preseason, another week of Tank Bigsby looking pretty good. We know he's behind Travis Etienne in the pecking order in terms of carries, but I thought he looked all right, right? You know, I think the problem is he looked bad last year, but he's not going to – is this going to amount to anything for Tank Bigsby finally?
Backup running back. Etienne's the guy. If something happens, I don't think Bigsby would slide into the Etienne role. It's a backup running back. Maybe he plays on special teams. Hopefully he provides a little more value than he did last year. Jay, we got some big dogs to get into. Kansas City Chiefs, they're coming up next. But first, y'all know what we got to do. We got a bunch of people in here, 1,200 in the building. We got to run it up. Hit the like button. We'll be right back. Get us, Jay. Let's go, Jay. Where we going?
Ray, we are headed to Kansas City to talk some Kansas City Chiefs, some behind-the-back passes, maybe some pecking order in KC. But ultimately, we are here to talk about none other than the king himself, Patrick Mahomes, and the starters, Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown when healthy, and Rashee Rice, who was seeing a lot of targets in this game. But Ray, talk about what you saw from the Kansas City Chiefs, because they were looking pretty good and they played a lot in this game.
Let's start with just the fun. It's the equivalent of like Steph Curry just pulling up from the half court in a regular season game for no reason. Just for no reason other than to be obnoxious. Patrick Mahomes does this. Look at this, Jay. What are you doing? What are you doing? Just behind the back. Just RPO, I'm going to run this way. Whoop! 8 yards of track. There's an 8-yard play, Jay. But the audacity to just do this in a game, preseason or not, just a fun play. Patrick Mahomes, Jay. Just a fun play, fun player. But really, it was about the big dog on the outside. You had Rashee Rice commanding all the targets, and you had Xavier Worthy here, right? Motion, a little bit of false start here, right? But corner route, wide open, 40-something yards, too fast. There he is, Patrick Mahomes. Big play early in the game, getting Xavier Worthy involved in the offense. And then again, right here, seam route. A lot of people think it's a deep crossing route, but watch the stutter, hezzy right there. People were, he's just wide open. No, sir. Look at the pace.
Yeah, the stutter
here,
was crazy.
Boom, stutter. That created the separation. Touchdown, man. Really hate when they have to press cover that Xavier Worthy, Jay. This is why. Everybody out there talking that shit. It was real cute and funny in the practice where he got pushed into a linebacker like that doesn't happen. That just lets me know how many people have never been around real football. Oh, he got pressed. Did you see the clip where he got hit at the line of scrimmage? You know how many times that happens in an NFL in a football practice? What really matters is when you get on the field and you do that and it's 4-2 coming at you, you can't stop it. I don't understand why this is so hard for people to get. Like, what else needs to be done to say, like, this is a guy that you want to invest in? Patrick Mahomes, 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns is well within the realm of possibility. Rashee Rice ain't getting suspended this year. Hollywood Brown's not going to play early. Travis Kelce's not 25 years old. Jay, what are we doing? Fire him up.
I don't know.
I asked Scott Connor last night, we got to redo rookie draft. Where would he go? Redo a rookie draft right now. Where does X Worthy go? He's top 6. He's top 6. Top 6. And it ain't because he's going to outscore this player. The hype and enthusiasm once he does shit like this, dog, like this happens in a regular season, people are doing backflips to get him. Backflips, Jay.
They should.
They should.
Yeah, and the biggest takeaway, right, and this is our biggest question coming into this season, is he going to be on the field and how much is going to be on the field with Patrick Mahomes on Saturday? 14 plays. He was on the field for 13 of those plays. Justin Watson played 14, Rashee Rice 13, Xavier Worthy 13 as well. So just based off those numbers, right, you're getting him on the field with Patrick Mahomes almost every single time. And Justin Watson, when healthy, will be replaced with Hollywood Brown. So no concerns for me, at least, wondering whether he's going to be on the field. The biggest question, though, Ray, do you think that there's a world where Worthy can be second in wide receiver targets? I think we fully expect Rashee Rice to be number one, as we already saw. But who would you pick right now, Xavier Worthy or Hollywood Brown, when Hollywood is fully healthy?
I think when Hollywood's healthy, he's going to out-target Xavier Worthy. I think that would be a safe assessment. And it's not that I don't need Worthy to go out there. What I don't need him to do is go out there and catch 10 balls a game. If he got 6 targets in this game, Rashee Rice had 5. I think Worthy had 2 red zone targets as well. He led the team in red zone targets. Like this young man can play, and he's got a superpower. Like, do you understand what's happening? It's like Mahomes is he's like Superman, and now you're adding like Crypto is dog next to him, right? You got the dog that's got superpowers as well. I watch a lot of cartoons with the kiddos, man, so that we were just watching Super Pets. But you get the point. Like, you got 2 players that have superpowers combined on a team with other players that complement those guys. This is going to work. 3 for 62, 1 touchdown. He does this in the real game. His value goes through the roof. Excited for this offense. I don't think he would be the second leading target getter with a healthy Hollywood Brown, but he does strike me as somebody that can just be an efficiency monster. In the same way we were talking about Tank Dell having those one-on-one opportunities, Xavier Worthy is going to have his fair share as well. Now, he did fumble the damn ball on an end around, but he got it back.
Graphic 13 did say that, yeah. The
fumble neither here nor
concerning.
There. And neither here nor there. Hold on to the ball, dude.
Yes. So, Ray, I think we can move on now to your Las Vegas Raiders, because they actually played their starters quite a bit in this game.
They did.
We're still wondering who's going to be the starter between Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. It came out after the game that Gardner Minshew would be the starter. That was announced by Antonio Pierce. But what did you see from those 2 quarterbacks? In my opinion, AOC did kind of look better, but the biggest takeaway for me, and feel free to talk about it, was Trey Tucker. He's not going to be the wide receiver 1 or the wide receiver 2, and I don't know what we can expect from a volume perspective, but if you're in a return league or you're looking for a very deep stash, Trey Tucker would absolutely be a guy to have on your radar. He looked phenomenal in this game, and playing with Minshew, who we know now is a confirmed starter, if he is the wide receiver 3 for the team, it doesn't really matter, but it could matter should anything happen to Devontae Adams or Jacoby Myers. Well,
he's going to matter because if his return game was crazy too. Watching this game, both my 2 teams, my Raiders and look at the hats right there. Right there, Raiders and Cowboys. Them my squads right there. I'm from Vegas, but I grew up as a Cowboys fan, so I got to root for both. The biggest takeaway I had is Zamir White looked like a damn tank. I mean, when he got the first carry of the game, I was like, whoa. I mean, he ran over damn Marquise Bell. I'm like, whew. Like, he looked like the real deal out there. So Zamir White looked good. Alexander Madison did not. This whole Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew thing, AOC's going to play. Feels like Gardner's getting like this veteran nod. And what I've read from a lot of Raiders beat reporters is if you want the wild roller coaster highlight plays, but the low light plays, you go with Gardner Minshew. If you want some more consistency, then it's Aiden O'Connell. So I think they're both going to play this season. I mean, well, Minshew clearly is the starter, but Aiden O'Connell will play as well. And yeah, Trey Tucker, I think in best ball, he's an auto smash at the end of underdog drafts. Round 18, fire up Trey Tucker. Big playability, wants to get down the field. Adams, we'll see how long he will not be disgruntled for, because he will get disgruntled at some point. Yeah, man, I'm good with Trey Tucker. And Michael Mayer played a lot too with Brock Bowers not playing in the game.
Yeah, no, I thought there was a lot of good things, and especially for a team that has a lot of fantasy uncertainty, it was good to see these players play, and Tucker did look great. But we can stay in the AFC West and head to LA, but we do have to talk about the Chargers and not the Rams. But Ray, Kamani Vidal looked very, very good in this game. He looked explosive, he looked shifty, he looked strong through the tackles. I think that Vidal could be very viable. He also played ahead of Isaiah Spiller and Jared Patterson and is pushing for that RB2 spot. Looked great in this game. It was against the Rams' second and third stringers primarily because McVay doesn't play anybody in preseason. But what did you see from Vidal, and did you see anything else from the Chargers?
I mean, we're seeing it right now. Decisiveness, quickness, power, agility, getting skinny through the holes, finishing forward, paddling forward. You see good runs here. You know, it looks a little different than the last number 30 that was in LA, a little different type of runner, different body build. But when you look at this offense and the ambiguity with Justin Herbert's injury, how he's going to hold up, and what we know about Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh wanting to establish it, I'll just say this. I bet you all of them play. Dobbins,
Yeah.
Edwards, Vidal, Spiller. I bet you all 5 of them play this year because they're probably going to run the shit out of the ball. Their running back position, it's fragile. They get beat up. But Vidal looks good. Gus Edwards, Vidal, J.K. Dobbins, if he makes the roster, whoever's there, they're probably going to do a lot of running. But he looked very good. We showed some of the clips right here. I mean, he had 50 rushing yards, man. And he showed different things on each one of those runs. Quickness, agility, patience, power, all of that. Looked really good. Shout out to Luis Perez. I know that young man. He's worked his tail off, went out there and played quarterback for the Chargers, was really good in the UFL, and he played in the XFL, USFL, all that other good stuff. But there's not a lot else to take away from the Chargers, but Vidal did look good. McConkey was on the field a little bit briefly, so I know there's been some injury reports and rumors there. And then QJ had a big grab in the game. He had to jump up and catch it with his hands. It's a big play for Quentin Johnston, but not a lot else from the game.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Once McConkey got on the field, he caught one pass and then was taken out after that. And then Easton Stick did miss Quentin Johnston on what would have been probably a 30-yard reception on 3rd and 19. QJ got down the field, was wide open, and of course, Easton Stick just missed him. Please, Justin Herbert, come back healthy because it is looking absolutely horrendous for the Chargers right now. People in the chat, Bray, we're asking your thoughts on Dobbins versus Edwards. Elwood did correct me talking about Vidal for the RB3 slot.
3 spot.
I kind of believe that he could be that pass-catching guy, and you have Edwards and Dobbins as the first, second down guy. But to be fair, yes, they're probably going to be the primary backs. We haven't seen them at all, but they're also always hurt, so there is opportunity there. Any last thoughts, or should we get to the Rams and talk about your boy, Jay Whittington, who cooked again this week?
I mean, go ahead. Roll into it. How long? I said this, but how long have I been saying it, Jay?
Yeah.
Talk about it.
It's been, you want to go back long time, like OG DD radio back, Jake Smith and Jordan Whittington.
You're talking about like 2020. I was talking about him back then when he was
right. It might have been 2018 for all I know. My goodness. But yeah, it's been talked about a lot how good Whittington's been, and it shows on the field. I believe he had 8 targets in this game, looked great once again. Probably going to be on the field at some point. Sean McVay, Matt Stafford, all talking about how great he is and how much how well he's doing so far as a rookie. Stafford apparently has a bit of hamstring tightness, and McVay said he's not concerned about it, but I didn't even know that, so I just brought it up so people knew that he's going to be at practice probably next week, but he hasn't been practicing for a few days, just, managing that injury, making sure it's not an issue. But the Rams, I mean, Blake Corum didn't play again, which is great for his prospects playing this season. How do you feel about Kyren versus Corum, and what kind of split do you anticipate? Because all the talk has been about how much they need a backup to Kyren, and how Corum has not played, which is really good for people who don't pay attention to what McVay does. Him not playing means he's probably going to play a lot during the regular season. But where are you at with Corum right now in terms of how you'd kind of rank him amongst the rookies and how you feel about him overall?
Yeah, so this is one where going into the year, going into the season, even after the draft, I'm like, this is the backup, right? Sean McVay uses one running back. Just go back. He just uses one back. Whoever his lead back is, he's just going to ride that person. But the fact that Corum hasn't played at all in the preseason, like none, like they don't even want to get a look at him, that tells you that he's seen everything they need to see in practice. This might be a little more of a split, Jay, than maybe a lot of people were anticipating going in. Now, no one thought Kyren was going to go out there and get 90% of the work. Man, what if this joint is like 60-40 out the gate? You know what I'm saying? What if it's like 60-40 out the gate, 70-30 out the gate, and if there's any slippage from Kyren Williams, I mean, Blake Corum is probably going to explode. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see that running back room and that situation play out. Jordan Whittington, he probably is not on anybody's waivers right now. Redraft, I'm still temper the expectations. A lot of hopium
there for redraft.
Yeah, with Puka and Kobe Parkinson and Cooper Kupp and Kyren Williams, it's still that's the core, right? But if something were to happen to one of the oft-injured wide receivers, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, Jordan Whittington will be in line to get some opportunities, so make sure you have him rostered, Jay. Miami Dolphins, they played Tua Tagovailoa. He's 5 for 5, scored a touchdown, got him out the game. They played Devon Achane, Raheem Mostert. They had some starters out there. And Achane, man, you see him split outside. Look at Achane, motion him out. They've been talking about using him more on the perimeter. And right here, nice little just go route. Boom, hit him down the seam, hit him up the sideline. Nice little catch from Devon Achane. So any other takeaways from the Miami Dolphins besides good to see Achane out there? Tua looked good, was in rhythm. No Tyreek, no Waddle, but who cares?
Yeah, no issue with that. Good to see them play. Tua looked great, and it was funny. I don't know if you saw Mike McDaniel roasted Tua, talking about how they ran the same play last season and he threw a pick, and then he ran it this time and he threw a touchdown, which is pretty funny for McDaniel to talk about that. But it was great to see Achane. Like, you talk about just that clip alone, very natural hands, looked like a receiver out there, so that was really cool to see. I mean, we did see some
Smith
Mostert
played well too, Jay. Jonnu Smith played well too. He keeps talking about Jonnu
Smith, man. It's so annoying because they don't use tight ends. Like, I think if you look over the past 2 seasons, they haven't utilized them at all. And they've had some ones that are decent, but they just don't use them. So do you think they use Jonnu Smith at all?
Well, I do, because Mike McDaniel was talking about not having a tight end like Jonnu Smith, and having somebody like him presents different offensive possibilities that they have not had. So I think there is a chance for him to be utilized in a much more fantasy-friendly role, and I'm excited to see how that may play out. Jay, where are we going now?
We are going to Minnesota because we do have to talk about J.J. McCarthy, who is officially ruled out for the rest of the season after tearing his meniscus. So he will be getting surgery. Look at you rolling the McCarthy clips. What could have been for J.J. McCarthy?
What could have been
in his rookie season? Yeah. So we will get full Sam Darnold, Ray. How do you feel about this offense now? We have Jordan Addison, who's dealing with an ankle injury. He's supposed to be ready for week 1. That's what Kevin O'Connell said. He was carted off, and that was concerning, but he should be okay for week 1. It's full Sam Darnold all season long, Ray. How do you feel about this Minnesota offense? Because I think we expect big things from Minnesota to some extent. We still need Justin Jefferson to be good. We need Addison to be good.
Who expects big things? Not me.
Fantasy people do. They need Jefferson to return that first-round ADP.
All right, Jay. The Vikings under Sam Darnold. I think their win-loss projections on DK is 6.5. I would hammer the under.
Really?
Hammer. With Thor's hammer, I would hammer the under. I would pick it up and smash the under 6.5 wins. Yes.
Really? Did you see who they signed yesterday?
Week 1, Giants. Week 2, Niners. L. Week 3, Texans. L. Week 4, Packers. L. 5, Jets in London. L. Darnold versus the Jets in London. That's going to be an
game.
overseas.
Come on.
Let me tell you, overseas L's are worse. That is an overseas L and a long flight back.
And
then they get
game.
A bye week. Lions, L. Rams, L. Colts, probably a loss. They'll beat the Jaguars somehow. And then they'll lose the Titans, the Bears. I don't think this is going to be good. I do not. Sam Darnold will have his moments. He will. He will have some, because he can throw the ball deep very well. He will have moments where you're like, all right, Sammy, ball game is back. And then he'll start seeing ghosts. It just stinks because we were excited to see the young quarterback play later on in the season, and we get no J.J. McCarthy this year. I've got nothing else to say about Minnesota.
Yeah, they do have a very tough schedule, but we'll see. I think they could surprise a little bit, and they did sign Stephon Gilmore, right? They paid him $10 million to come and play under Brian Flores once again, and I think that defense could surprise people a little bit. Not go crazy, but I think we'll surprise people a little bit. But I think it all hinges on Sam Darnold, like you said, and that is not good. But we can move forward because, Ray, we did see a bit more from Drake May and the New England Patriots. And while I wasn't overly enthused with May, it was a lot of checkdowns. It wasn't anything too crazy. Again, this offense is going to be boring. It's going to be vanilla. It's going to suck. And we may not see Drake May at all. Didn't really matter who was playing quarterback out there. They all sucked. But thankfully, Joe Milton went 2 for 7 and had as many sacks as completions, which is great for people who think that he is challenging Drake May for his roster spot. But the most encouraging sign, Ray, we saw Drake May have a little Jaden Daniels impersonation on the goal line with the read option, kept it, and did score a touchdown. Any takeaways from you on the Patriots and their offense? It's going to suck. It's going to be bad. Please get a top pick, and please draft Teteora McMillan for Drake May. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. Ramondre,
He did.
and
Even
pray.
he had no room to run, man.
Yeah,
There was
and
just
pray.
nothing there.
Ramondre and pray. That's what you do. You draft Ramondre and pray. Polk and Baker were identical. Baker it was a tough grab, but you want to see him make that catch. You make that catch, and that really helps you out. But it was a great ball by Drake May. I thought May looked much better in the second game than he did week one. Can we get some good weather for those New England Patriots a little bit? Can we get some better weather for the Pats so we can see some real football? Yeah, Joe Milton is a fun story, but I watched enough of him at Michigan and Tennessee to know that I will not fall for this one. Boutte continued to play well, but there's nothing really to take away from the New England side. It was good to see May have a better performance, and they put Bailey Zappi in to round out the game. They wanted to see him in that 2-minute offense, and he lost it. He fumbled the ball, or a bad snap, and he couldn't get it, and it was over. So nothing else from the New England Patriots. Let's talk about those New Orleans Saints who played last night. Derek Carr looked a little better, led a scoring drive. Taysom Hill was in at fullback at the goal line and scored the fullback touchdown. Chris Olave was out there with the New Orleans Saints. No Alvin Kamara. And Kendre Miller continues to lose steam.
Yeah, I thought the biggest thing for me was Derek Carr and Chris Olave were on the same page in this game. Last game, I was very critical of Derek Carr, talking about how he was missing Olave left and right. They were back on the same page. And the other concerning thing, Ray, because we haven't seen Kamara and Taysom on the field at the same time, is he did see 5 carries, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in a preseason game where they, I believe, only played 2 series, Taysom got 5 of those, one of which was a goal line carry. Now, I do believe that Kamara would get that in a normal situation, but Taysom is very effective at the goal line. And so if a Taysom Hill is a tight end in any of your leagues, please try and acquire him for cheap because he will return value. He is utilized much more like an H-back than as a tight end. And if he has tight end designation, he will perform probably at least top 12, maybe even higher than that if Derek Carr is pretty good. But no other takeaways for me. I thought Spencer Rattler was okay, and he did play ahead of Jay Kaner in this game.
Yeah, he was. He got put in some bad situations, bad snaps, and some drop balls. He took some sacks, but I don't know about the Saints. What the big takeaway was on the other side of the ball, there's another Kubiak that was calling plays. There's another Kubiak in the league. Clay Kubiak, I believe, is the Kubiak that's in San Francisco right now. So we'll at some point in time see another damn Kubiak as a head coach in the NFL because it's just going to happen, Jay. All right. You ready to talk about the big dog? Let's talk about him. And D-Bro is in the building right now. Malik Eugene.
I feel sorry for D-Bro.
Neighbors in the New York Giants, Jay. All right, the Giants out there. Daniel Jones, 11 for 18, 138 yards, 2 picks. They made him stay out there for a long time to get that.
Yeah, they did. Dable was not happy with Daniel Jones.
They made him stay out there for a long time until that offense got something cooking, which they never really did. But Malik Neighbors, Jay, led the way. 4 catches, 54 yards, and he had a beautiful toe tap sideline catch. I'm going to show that right here. All 22 version of him. Down at the bottom of the screen, there's Neighbors. Incredible sideline awareness. I mean, disgusting. Just look at that, Jay. Just nasty. Nasty. Malik Neighbors is a dog. Now, I texted him this morning, man. I said, good game. He said, appreciate you, big homie. I'll be back in Dallas in a couple of weeks, and I'll get at you. But, Jay, let's talk about this. I said it, man. I said it on Sunday. I love him. I'm all in on the talent. That is my guy. Nobody, not a single living soul is higher on Malik Neighbors than me for as long as I was. But that situation, man, it feels like he is destined for Drake London, DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin, Garrett Wilson. Even I saw people, shout out to Matt Kelly, man. He's got a new app, Fast Draft. Check it out. I'm telling y'all right now, it's pretty fun. But he was talking about he's the arbitrage Garrett Wilson play. And I'm like, okay, so you're paying a second-round startup pick, second-round redraft price for a guy that if he gives you 1,104, he's a wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
Like and it has nothing to do with Malik. It has nothing to do with his talent and his skill set. But, like, people are going like 4 for 54. You know what that sounds like? That's like Drake London. You know, and right now, it's like, oh, well, they'll just do that every time. In the season, when it's the real defense out there, they'll just say, you won't throw to him. I will bracket him, and I'll force Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton and Isaiah Hodgins to beat us. It just feels like he's destined for that. So I love Neighbors, man. That's my dude. But this situation is not good. It is rotten. Daniel Jones is not good, Jay. I don't know why you pumped him up so much last offseason, but it's clear that he's not a very good quarterback. How do you feel about Neighbors? And we're going to have D-Bro on the show next week. He's going to get there's no doubt he's going to be targeted. He's getting 140, 150 plus. But what does it matter if it's really, really bad? Or let me just say this. I still would want him, but not at his cost. Not going at in the second round of underdog. Like, I can't do that, man. I cannot do that, Jay.
Yeah, this was always the biggest problem for me when you talk about Malik Neighbors. It wasn't, and even if you wanted to take him, like you talk about the Dynasty startup ADP and the high price tag there, I'm even fine. If you really love Malik Neighbors and you really want to draft him that high, like go for it. I do believe there will be some regression in value. I do believe he could go down a little bit. But I mean, you look at what Jordan Addison did last year. It wasn't super impressive, but it was good enough to kind of retain that value and be decent in terms of where his return is. But you look at what we expect from Malik Neighbors, and you saw it in the clip. Dude is extremely talented, and it was never a question as to whether or not he's talented enough. It's whether he sees enough volume and gets enough production to return that cost right now, especially in redraft leagues. You've talked incessantly about how important it is to have good coaching, a good scheme, and a good quarterback for wide receivers. All three of those things matter.
Joe just said exactly what you said. Like, here it is on the screen. She said QBs and scheme matter. QB and scheme, they do matter. Like, I know there's this narrative that, like, talent trumps everything. It's just not true. It's just not true because they're dependent on the quarterback and the offensive coordinator. So, Trip Crown said scheme is really good for Neighbors. Dayball is great.
Where are you at on Dayball? I'm personally a bit. I'm coming back a bit. We were in on Dayball early, especially first season with Daniel Jones. But it seems like things haven't quite got working.
Daniel Jones. No one said anything. We didn't even invoke Dayball's name. It's Daniel Jones. Is it hard? Is that hard? Let me get a piece of paper to write down because it clearly the auditory issues coming through the mic today are problematic for folks. Daniel Jones is the problem, not Brian Daboll. You can go get the scheme from San Francisco and it won't fucking matter. And how Daniel many times, Jay, did we do this every single year in fantasy football? Terry McLaurin, Drake London, Garrett Wilson, DJ Moore, Malik, we do it I asked Scott last night. I'm going to ask you, name me one instance where a fantasy receiver has thrived and smashed with a shit quarterback in a bad scheme. And I'm talking about out the gate. Name one off the top of your head that the situation was so rotten with an awful quarterback, he went out there and was still a top 5, top 6, top 8, where you're drafting him number 2 in redraft. Name one.
I mean, you probably got to go back to like how people felt about Eli with OBJ, right? Like I can't think of any other situation. Eli wasn't this big time quarterback at that point in his career. He was still good, but I think, OBJ kind of maximized the situation. But yeah, outside of that, I can't think of any situation where a receiver of a high caliber has overcome that bad situation. It just doesn't happen. Like hardly
and it's
ever.
Not, it's the whole situation, man. Offensive line is not, sure, it's improved. We think. What we know is it was not good. Evan Neal has not been good. Daniel Jones, we'll see, man. And this conversation has nothing to do with Neighbors' talent. He's an incredible talent. Just like DJ Moore, when he finally got out of there and had some opportunity with a better little situation and QB play was a little better. Fields was better with Moore. He did help Justin Fields out, right? Too little too late for him, and they had the number 1 pick. But it's just a reality that we've seen play out, and I just don't want people to ignore it. Don't ignore it, because as long as you recognize it going in, that will keep you from doing something foolish down the line, because you don't want to get in the season and be like, man, I really thought he was going to overcome it, and now I want to trade him and get out, and I don't like him, and he's a butt. Don't do that. Understand what you're buying. Understand what you're getting when you get when you invest in that player, and just understand all the peripheral stuff around that situation is probably just not good, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin said it here. Talent is always greater than situation. Got to try not base everything on what we think the situation will be. NFL is a league of parity. It changes year to year. Kevin, the only thing I'm going to say about that is not that you're wrong. I agree with you wholeheartedly, but this is not the same as touting a player like Terry McLaurin or even Stone said it in the chat, A.J. Brown, who was much lower in value. Malik Neighbors is very highly valued, and it's very difficult to project that.
Tannehill was not what
disappointed every year.
2-3?
He disappointed every year. Everyone said, this is the year. AJ Brown's going to explode, but it was always 1,100 on low volume because of the offense. So it does come down to situation and scheme and all that, but expectations right now for Neighbors are simply too high, and the risk for him to disappoint is very, very high, like we've seen from Garrett Wilson over the past few seasons.
We're talking redraft. We're talking
redraft is the main
this
concern.
Season. Yes. All right.
But we can move forward to the New York Jets because my only note was that Isaiah Davis played ahead of Braylon Allen, which did surprise me. And I think when you talk about those two running backs and the way they both win, you look at Isaiah Davis, and he is a guy that, in my opinion, can parallel a skill set that Breece Hall can do as well. Braylon Allen, a bit more of a bruiser, but has shown he's decent in the passing game. Do you have anything else from this Jets game? I was more so looking at the running backs behind Breece Hall. We didn't see any pass catchers, of course. We didn't see Aaron Rodgers. It was mainly Isaiah Davis for me and Braylon Allen. Both looked pretty good, but I was surprised to see Davis playing ahead of Allen, even though Davis was drafted behind Allen in the NFL draft.
Yeah, Braylon Allen, 4 targets was interesting. 4 targets on the day for Braylon Allen, so it was good to see him try to get involved a little bit in the receiving game. 4 targets for Braylon Allen. He only caught 2 of them, but good to see him involved in the receiving game. And yes, getting a little look at Isaiah Davis, but I still really think that Braylon Allen ends up being that RB2 behind Breece Hall. Philadelphia Eagles, Jay. Danny Woodhead 2.0. He did it again. Will Shipley out there looking very good, and the drumbeat for old Ship is starting to move on up. And I do recall that old GQ put out multiple videos saying that I was higher than just about everybody on Shipley. I think I had him top 5 in the class. And right now, what he's doing in Philadelphia, he's going to push Kenny Gainwell. He's going to push Kenny Gainwell for touches and opportunity in that backfield. Both of them played in this game. Both of them were involved in the receiving game. I think Gainwell had 4 targets as well as Will Shipley. Shipley caught all 4 of his for 31 yards. Gainwell caught 3 for 10 yards. And they both had 3+ rush attempts in the game. That was my big takeaways. Will Shipley looks like he's going to be a part of this offense. Probably starting out as the RB3 on that team from day one, but there's going to be opportunity for him to play, to pick things up, to get involved in the offense. Looks good. I like what I've seen so far out of Will Shipley.
Yeah, you know, the big thing with Kellen Moore, for people who don't pay attention, he uses both his running backs a lot, right? You go back to his time in Dallas, he used Tony Pollard and Zeke Elliott a lot, the most in the league. So if Shipley can show that he can play on passing downs, and obviously we know that Saquon Barkley can play on all 3 downs, I think having 2 running backs that complement Jalen Hurts effectively is very good for this offense. We know what they have outside at receiver, but I think that Will Shipley can carve out a role in this, and I think potentially, Ray, 100+ opportunities in his rookie season. It will depend on how they view Gainwell, but I do think there's a world where Shipley could be very good. You know, I don't call him White Lightning for no reason, and I think he definitely showed that in the receiving game. It's just whether or not he can do enough to play on 3rd downs and get a few carries as well. Do you have anything else from the Eagles, who once again didn't play anybody in their preseason?
No. Will Shipley.
All right.
Will Shipley.
Well, we have a very exciting game to get to.
Talk about your boy.
Look, Ray, I'll be honest. Very honest.
Okay.
I personally believe that the hate for Justin Fields was a little bit overblown. And of course, we were talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, who played Justin Fields mostly in the second half, been in the first half, and Russell Wilson before that. The offense was horrible. Didn't matter who was playing quarterback.
Yeah.
But what I will say, Ray, there was a lot of talk about this missed post route, which he missed the throw and he missed the read early in the progression.
The receiver
he should have thrown that ball
a
little bit, and the throw was high. But the bigger thing for me, and the reason why I get why people still want to see Fields, is you also saw the spectacular. You saw what he could do. Now, it's a bit few and far between, and I think that to a lot of people, the negatives outweigh the positives. But what he did do when he's making those plays is literally some of the most creative, difficult plays to make, when he's breaking 3 or 4 tackles in the backfield, running to his left, throwing over a defender. Like, these are not throws that just anyone can make. I'm not saying I'm in on Fields, but I'm saying that he missed one throw, and there's a few other things that were difficult, but he also did some things that you simply do not see from quarterbacks. And so when you're talking about Russell Wilson, who looked pedestrian, who wasn't good, who, for whatever reason, they still want to start him. He's still the guy. I just think there's a world where the Steelers should take a shot on the high and low of Fields, because this team is not built to win, I think, with Russell Wilson. I think they need a higher ceiling, even if it comes with a much lower floor week to week. What did you see from Fields and Russ? I thought they were both pretty bad, but I think the highlights from Fields were definitely more impressive than I think people are giving him credit for.
I'm just done. I think it's what Rico said. It's the consistency. It's not, everybody knows he can make the spectacular, but to be an effective NFL quarterback, you've got to make the consistent. And he has consistently shown an ability not to be consistent. And I don't think that's going to change. We're in year 4 of Justin Fields. There's no doubt his physical gifts and his tools, his legs, his arm, the things that he can kind of escape, his escapability, is probably top tier, man. He can run, he can throw, but you have to be consistently consistent, and he's not that. The spectacular is great, man, but I just need you to hit your back foot on a 3-step drop and get it out and make it on time to the hitch route. When you've got the seam going down the middle, you can't miss those, because you don't get 10 opportunities a game where you've got your wide receiver running down the field wide open. You've got to capitalize on those opportunities, and he's going to play. Russell Wilson was no better. Let's not, he had one throw to George Pickens where it was ruled out of bounds. Looked like Pickens, if he would have put his foot down, it would have been a crazy Pickens level catch. But Russ wasn't much better. Broderick Jones, their first round pick out of Georgia, was getting tossed around by Gregory Rousseau. I'm just.
You scared?
We've seen it before. What'd you say?
Are you scared for Pickens? I'm a little bit scared for Pickens, seeing what they've put on Black so far, right? We already know Arthur Smith's not great.
You're going to draft him for the same reasons people draft Neighbors and Drake London, because of the target share and what he could do. But that quarterback situation is not good. It's not good. It's not good.
Yeah.
Not good.
And then Luke did ask in the chat, Warren injury update. Jalen Warren's going to miss multiple weeks, and he's in question right now for week 1 with a hamstring injury. We've been talking about a lot of hamstring injuries, soft tissue injuries. Some guys are going to be ready, some guys aren't, but it was already reported that Warren is going to miss multiple weeks, probably missing the rest of the preseason for sure, and potentially into the first week as well. Well, Najee and Ray, any interest in Cordero Patterson, who we know that Arthur Smith loves to throw out
he's
there.
He's definitely going to play. There's no doubt about it. He is going to vulture touchdown. I'll say this, man. I was watching the game, and I was going to tweet it out. Najee looked a little slimmer than he has before. I don't know if he's lost weight. He looked a little more Alabama Najee-ish on Saturday or Sunday, whenever the hell they played. I thought he looked fine. I mean, the yardage didn't, but he looked good. But nothing. This quarterback room is probably going to be a problem. This is going to be a problem for Pittsburgh. We'll see how it plays out. But I have low confidence in what this offense, at least the quarterbacks, are going to do consistently at the quarterback spot. Jay, let's move on and talk about the 49ers, who did play last night. Purdy played, and Jay.
Did you watch him? Did you watch this game?
He was running around for his life back there. It did not. They should have had the starters out there with old Brock. But let's talk about the Niners. The pastronaut Josh Dobbs looked good. Brock Purdy was 2 for 6, 11 yards, got sacked, was running around. It was not good. It was not good for Brock Purdy. All the backups played. Not a lot to take away from this game, except Matt Breida was back. I was like, who the hell is that? And they're like, Matt Breida is back with the Niners. You've got Joshua Dobbs out there running around all over the damn field, the pastronaut. But Brock Purdy, I've got no takeaways. 11 yards, it looked bad. He was out there with the backups, not good. Not good, Bob.
Yeah. It was so funny because our resident injury analyst, Jeff Mueller, who, if you didn't check out his podcast, it dropped on Sunday, talking about some preseason injury reports and updating everyone on those. He tweeted out that this was a ploy by Kyle Shanahan to help out his Brock Purdy contract negotiations, because he threw him out there with the backups to say, hey, Brock, look what happens when you don't got the starters out there. You look like trash. And then on top of that, as you mentioned, Kyle Shanahan wasn't calling plays in this game. It was Kubiak, disciple number 3, 4, whoever it was.
Yeah, they just threw Purdy out. What were they doing? The hell are
No
they
play
doing,
caller, no weapons, no Ayuk, no Debo, no Kittle, like no McCaffrey. Nobody
What are
played,
y'all
but
doing?
Brock
What are they
Purdy, probably with the starting O-line, was out there. Absolutely ridiculous. Jordan Mason didn't play either. Derek Brown did mention that. He sat. He has minor hip soreness,
49ers
but should be
definitely
okay.
using that game as
Right?
anti-leverage. 100. You know, Brock, we got to get a
Crazy.
We
Talk
gotta
about
if we
4D
pay you
chess.
$60 million, you're gonna have to work with that offensive line. And Brock's gonna be like, all right, give me 25.
Yep.
People in the chat said Najee dropped 12 pounds. Said he was 230 plus last season, and now he's 220. I knew he looked slimmer when I was watching. I'm like, man, he looks like he lost some weight. So good for Najee.
Yeah, I
man.
was
Good
reading
for
a
Najee.
report that apparently Mike Tomlin told him to lose 20 pounds, similar to when Le'Veon Bell had to slim down as well going into his 4th season. So if it's 12 pounds, but apparently Tomlin, said you better lose some weight and asked him to drop 20 pounds. But I think we can move on to your boy Ray, because Sammy Ballgame was back at it again for the Seattle Seahawks. Sam Howell is back, baby. Ray, I have to ask you again, because I still believe this is a real narrative. When he was traded, you dismissed it. You said there's no way Geno Smith's the guy. When is Sam Howell gonna play? Because I want him to play for fantasy. I think he's better for the pass catchers. Sammy Ballgame looked good yet again.
The thing about Sam Howell, man, he is the new Ryan Fitzpatrick. Wherever he goes, when he gets in, he's just going to sling it. 11 for 14, 153, threw a touchdown, sacked twice. You got to get those Sam Howell sacks in there somehow. Hey, I don't know what the update is with Geno Smith. I have no idea what the update is. Last I heard, his whole body was broken. Back, knees, hips, everything hurting. Might be in practice.
He wants a new deal?
He wants a new deal?
Again, this is just a little, I just Googled Geno Smith really quickly to see if there's anything. And very first report, NBC Sports report, Geno Smith wants a new deal in Seattle. Geno Smith holding in for that
Sam Howell's
new deal.
Going to play, Jay. He's going to play at some point, and he's going to score his fantasy points, because that's what he does. He is reckless. He doesn't care. He's got no fear. YOLO. He's going to throw the ball. 11 for 14, 153. He played well. But I think the real sort of sneaky player in this whole operation, Jay, been saying it a couple of weeks, Kenny McIntosh. Apparently, Zach Charbonnet's dealing with a little bit of injury, did not practice, I believe, in the joint practices last week for the Seattle Seahawks. And Kenny McIntosh just continues to go out there, pick up yards, be explosive. It was somebody that we did like coming out of Mobile, fell in the draft.
Yep.
But everything that I'm hearing about his performances in practice and the joint practices and training camp have been nothing but positive, and has pretty much locked him into the RB3 role. There's a world where Charbonnet just isn't that good. There's a world where he may not just be that good. And behind Kenneth Walker, they need a different type of running back. I think McIntosh is going to play. He has made the most of his opportunities, according to all beat reporters out of Seattle. And then when he gets on the field, going for 50 yards in a preseason game on 8 carries, I'll take that. Involved in the receiving game, we know he can catch a lot of passes. He is somebody that I think should be stashed. I do not believe Kenny McIntosh should be on waivers in any sort of competitive deep dynasty league. Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, I've never found a Georgia running back that I don't like, and Kenny McIntosh is no exception. As you mentioned, he's a guy that did look pretty good between the tackles at the Senior Bowl, and that was our bigger concern. Can he run the ball effectively? He's looking good in preseason. We know he can catch the ball and work in pass pro, so definitely excited that Kenny McIntosh is making a name for himself, because I do like him quite a bit. But another running back that people like a lot, and Joe, of course, every show, she's got to talk about Sean Tucker, but Sean Tucker was playing behind Bucky Irving, who got the reps with it was the second team, but he did get the first crack at running the ball. But he was looking very shifty, very impressive, and bigger than I give him credit for. When you think about Bucky Irving and what I remember of him, it was like this shifty guy, pass catching back, but he actually has some size to him and is better between the tackles than I think people realize. But he did play ahead of Sean Tucker. I think both running backs looked pretty good. Not much else to take away from Tampa Bay. Of course, none of the starters played. But between these two running backs, Ray, who was the one who impressed you more?
I'm happy to see Sean Tucker getting a shot, because the hype that he had coming out of Syracuse to sort of the fall with the health issues, and then last year was like, is he even going to be in the NFL anymore? Is he even going to be around? And if the preseason sort of teaches you anything, it's that if you can stay around, like just stay around, you're going to have opportunities, right? Look at Cam Akers, 2 torn Achilles, Deontay Foreman, Matt Breida's on the damn field, man. So when I'm looking at Sean Tucker and you look at this Tampa Bay backfield, Bucky Irving, Rashad White, he should be the RB3 on this team. And again, it's the running back position. So many of them play. It's good to see Tucker getting some burn. I'd prefer Bucky over Sean Tucker, but the same, I can't pump up Kenny McIntosh and tell you to have him roster and not say the same thing for Sean Tucker. I think it would be
absolutely.
It's the same. They're in the same sort of realm. So pick up Kenny McIntosh, pick up Sean Tucker. That's what I will say. And you're right. The Titans played nobody. We don't even need to talk about Tennessee. They played not
too good, like, right? Too good to play their players, too good. Right?
Don't need
good.
to play. No, we don't. They're just too good. So final team we're getting to, team 32. Jay, those Commanders, Washington, JD5 had a little run in the game. Didn't do much. I mean, he looked fine. Had a little run right here. You don't want to see him take the hit at the end of the run, but he is very fast. JRich, he got to the edge in a hurry. You see this? I mean, this is. I think his rushing yard total on DraftKings is like 400 yards. Yeah, give me the over on 400 yards for Jaden Daniels this year. But talk about some of the interesting notes coming out about the wide receiver 2 spot in Washington.
Yeah, so Scott Connor, credit to him, noticed this in the last preseason game, and so we had a little conversation about it, right? Talking about that wide receiver 2 spot. There's a lot of concerns about Jahan Dotson not getting a lot of targets in this offense right now, and Diami Brown is the one who's actually showing out, especially on the outside, getting the deeper targets, running lots of routes, especially for a dude who's been buried for a long time. But all of the notes and all of the data when you talk about being on the field, running routes, all still lean Jahan Dotson. In 18 snaps with Jaden Daniels, Jahan Dotson was on for 16 of 18 of those snaps, 14 slot snaps, 11 routes on 12 Jaden Daniels dropbacks, and 2 targets on 12 pass attempts. Now, again, the results were what they were, 1 for 3 and no touchdowns. But the point is that Jaden Daniels and Jahan Dotson are on the field together, and that's all you can really ask for. I don't think I expect much from Jahan Dotson at all this season because it still hasn't been encouraging, but at least the dude is on the field, and that's all I can ask for. When it comes to Daniels, though, Ray, feel free to talk about him. My biggest thing with him, when you compare him to some of the other rookie quarterbacks that, in my opinion, are running more realistic plays and offensive schemes with play action, all this stuff, Jaden Daniels is running a very vanilla offense and executing it quite well. I'm excited to see what they do with him when he's running a more complete offense with a bit more motion, better schemes, and things like that. I think he could be even more dynamic than he's already been, but his ability to throw the ball is well on display in very, very simple concepts.
He's going to be good. There's not, like, I think he's going to be very good, Jay. There's not a lot to say. We'll still have to see because that offensive line is rough. And outside of Terry McLaurin, I mean, you got Ben Sinnott and you have, Zach Ertz and you got these younger, new options. We'll see how it plays out. I do like, again, the sneaky addition of Tyler Biadasz up front, center for the Dallas Cowboys, Pro Bowl center, going over there following Dan Quinn. JD5 is going to be just fine. I'm very excited about this rookie class. Even with McCarthy going down, man, these quarterbacks are, it looks better than the last time we had 5 first-round quarterbacks in round 1.
2021. Right?
2021. It's 2021. It looks a lot better than the Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Trey Lance. Was it that? Was it just 4? I think it was those 4.
No, Zach Lance, Wilson.
Oh, yeah. Lawrence, I completely forgot about Zach Wilson. Yeah, those 5. Yeah. These 5 look much better, at least early on, than those 5 looked right there. And there's some Geno Smith. Graphic 13 said Geno unfollowed the Seahawks.
Bold move, Geno. Bold move.
Rico said Geno's barking up the wrong tree here. But go get your bread, Geno Smith. But, Sam Howell's probably going to play at some point this year. Jay, we got one more game. Preseason, week 3 this week. This is a lot of teams have already come out to say they're not going to play starters in this final game. We'll see how this works out. But either way, we will be back on Monday, and it is going to be a monster show because the one and only D-Bro, Derek Brown, is going to be joining us on Wake Up to kind of give our final thoughts and takeaways. And we got some real special things that we are going to announce next Monday. So make sure y'all wake up and bring y'all asses in the building. What's so funny? What's going on? What am I missing? What did I miss?
We have done an entire show, and I just realized what's on your head. That's funny.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say to people before we get out of here?
That's it, everybody.
Where's the
It was a
music?
great show. Oh, what the fuck? You throw me off by cutting me off. But
bad.
either way, thank you to everybody for tuning in. We will be back next week with D-Bro. And I am telling you, this show that Scott's going to do on Wednesday is going to be crazy. He's going to be on the clock. He's going to be talking through his process, different league formats, different everything. On the clock in 50-plus drafts with Scott Connor live at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. It is going to be a banger show. Make sure you tap in through content across the entire week. Check out Shane, Scott, and Ray on Destination Dynasty that dropped this morning. It's been a great week for content. I am excited for preseason week 3, but Ray, Monday morning is going to be electric. So make sure you tap in with us, like and subscribe to the content, and we'll see you guys next week. We're out. Peace.